Oh, Dez Bryant's reaction to the fourth down incomplete pass reversal, well, it was priceless. Someone get that motherfucker some tissues, a pacifier, and a baby bottle. Poor little Dez was about to cry. Karma's a bitch, isn't it, Dez? For the second straight week, the Dallas Cowboys season hinged on a decision by a referee. This time they weren't the beneficiaries. But does Dez have a gripe? The Calvin Johnson rule is the topic of discussion today. Mike Owens is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. Mike, how's it going, buddy?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's always a good day when we can come on here and talk about Dez Bryant crying. Now, even though this week he did have something to cry about, but the previous week he did not. So, like you said, karma is a bitch, and I think that Dez Bryant needs to go into the dictionary and he needs to look up karma.
Yeah, I'll tell you what about this catch. It was funny because I saw the first replay, and I knew right away that it was going to get overturned because of the Calvin Johnson rule. And, this is something that happens in the NFL. And, I was just praying to God. I did a couple, I blessed myself, and I was like, I hope to God that Fox, they zoomed right in on Dez when that call was being made. And they did, and his reaction was freaking awesome. His hands were like this. He was ready to cry. He was on the verge of tears. It was fantastic.
It was very similar to his, reaction, last week in the Lions game when he took off his helmet and came storming onto the field. Something about him, he always likes to take off his helmet and start crying so everyone can see his tears, out there in, front of the world. But yeah, it's obviously we're happy that they, overturned the call and said it was no catch. But you look at that situation and, talk about a gutsy call from the Cowboys there. They're 4th and 1, and they decide to throw it up to Dez Bryant down near the goal line. I guess could be kind of a questionable call in a way, considering the way that, DeMarco Murray was running the ball. You would kind of think in a situation like that they would, ride Murray. I mean, it wasn't a bad call per se because anytime you can get Dez Bryant one-on-one, you definitely have an advantage there. But definitely a gutsy call for a 4th and 1 situation.
Yeah, yeah. And instead of, being a yard away from a potential game-winning touchdown, Bryant's 31-yard catch was overturned. And let's get into the rule right now. According to Rule 8, Section 1, Article 3 of the NFL rulebook, look at us getting technical and shit. If a player goes to the ground the act of catching a pass with or without contact by an opponent, he must maintain control of the ball throughout the process of contacting the ground, whether in the field of play or the end zone. If he loses control of the ball and the ball touches the ground before he regains control, the pass is incomplete. If he regains control prior to the ball touching the ground, the pass is complete. So there's the rule right there. And according to the rule, the pass was incomplete. But let's be honest here. It's a bad rule. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, it's one of the worst rules right now that they have in the NFL, and it's something that they have to look at and they need to fix in the off season because it's really not fair. That was a hell of a play by Dez Bryant. I mean, that you can't argue that the guy is a hell of an athlete, no matter what you think about him as a person. But he can do it all on the football field. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame that they have to take away such a great play like that because of some dumb rule.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, like, to compare something, because here's kind of what I think about the rule, all right? Because when you're a running back and you're tackled to the ground and you lose the ball because of the ground, you're ruled down by contact. Now, when you're a receiver and this sort of thing happens, it's an incomplete pass. And that's what I don't understand. Now, this rule really came into prominence a couple years ago. There was a game between the Detroit Lions and I believe it was the Chicago Bears where Calvin Johnson, caught a pass in the back of the end zone, got both of his feet down, But as he was going to the ground, like he had the ball in his hand, he had control of it, and he just kind of like let it go. And there was a review on the play. It was ruled an incomplete pass. And then this is where like the rule really took off. This is like similar to like when they first called the tuck rule for Tom Brady. No one had ever heard of the tuck rule before until the Tom Brady thing. And then after Tom Brady did it, the call became a lot more frequent. And then the same things happened with this rule. They call it now the Calvin Johnson rule because of that play.
Yeah, and now that it's happened again here, especially in a big playoff game, you would think that they're definitely going to have to go back and look at this rule in the off season. That's a great comparison you really make with the running backs and how when the ball, if the ground causes the fumble, then it's not a fumble. So it should really go the same way with receivers. Especially in a situation when it's a catch like that. I mean, not to mention that Dez Bryant even caught the ball after it hit the ground. That was a great play by itself. Him being able to catch the ball afterwards too. So yeah, it works out for us, but sucks for Dallas. But then again, Dallas did get away with a non-call in the game against the Lions. So, it works out.
Yeah, it really did. And, to further emphasize why Dez Bryant is the biggest baby in all of sports right now. I mean, honestly, he's worse than T.O. right now. Or worse than T.O. ever was. I mean, after the game, he's saying, like, the call should have never even been reviewed, that he had control of the ball and all this stuff. He had no idea why the call was reversed, and he was just crying to the media after the game. I mean, it was just awful. And Jason Garrett, the ginger, on the other hand, he kind of took the high road. He said it wasn't about officiating. He said, we had 60 minutes with an opportunity to come up here and win a ball game, and we didn't get the job done. So, he said the play was big in the game, but there were plenty of other opportunities for the Cowboys to win the game. So that's that in terms of the Cowboys' reaction after the game. And also the Lions tweeted after the game was over as well, basically snickering, saying, "Oh, we know how that rule feels like," because obviously Calvin Johnson plays for the Lions.
Yeah, well, thank God that we didn't have to see Jerry Jones and Chris Christie hugging each other and rejoicing in celebration again, because I think if that happened, everybody in Philadelphia would have been throwing up, and most of the country as well. So thank God that they overturned their call and they said it wasn't a catch, and we didn't have to see Jerry Jones or Chris Christie at all during the entire game.
I kind of wish they would have panned over to Chris Christie too after that call as well. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, well, they have a still shot photo of it, and it's pretty funny.
I'll have to check that out after this video. All right, so now let's talk about the game itself, because, all right, let's say the Cowboys score, all right, because it was 26-21 at the time, and let's say they even, get the 2-point conversion and make it 29-26. To be honest with you, Aaron Rodgers would have went right down the field again and scored a touchdown. So in the end, I don't think the catch really mattered, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that the Packers would have been able to go down the field, at least tie the game with the field goal or win it with the touchdown. And it kind of goes back. It's really a very similar situation to the Cowboys and Lions game too, in the fact that when they picked up the flag on the pass interference, and the Lions still got another shot in that game to come down and possibly win it. So the specific call in each game it really didn't determine the outcome of the game.
Yeah, the Cowboys still had an opportunity to get the Packers off the field, and their defense couldn't do it. So, that you Cowboys fans can talk about the call, but you guys had an opportunity, and you didn't get it done, as Jason Garrett said, as our Ginger said. So, you know, Ginger Boy was, took the high road, and he was right.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it all depends on when these calls take place. Now, obviously, if this Dez Bryant catch slash non-catch thing took place in the first quarter, people really wouldn't be talking about it like they are right now. So it's just the fact that the point in the game that it took place, it really puts an emphasis on the rule, and that's why it's something that they're going to end up looking at.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so, uh, this game was scaring me for a bit because Aaron Rodgers was playing like shit. Wasn't, completing the normal passes that he would complete, but then he led the Packers to two near flawless drives down the stretch, completing 11 of 14 passes for 173 yards on those two touchdown drives. I mean, he was fantastic down the stretch. Obviously, Green Bay, scored 13 unanswered points to help it claim the 26-21 victory. So Aaron Rodgers, he outplayed Tony Romo down the stretch. And I will say this, as good as Romo was, I thought Romophobia kicked in for a little bit. And let me say this, because in the third quarter, the Cowboys kind of stopped scoring. And it was because Romo was taking sacks. He wasn't getting rid of the ball. He was just standing back there, and he took like 3 or 4 sacks in a span of like a couple drives, and I thought that was inexcusable. No one's really talking about that.
Yeah, well, the Packers they really were doing a nice job of getting the Romo, and especially in the second half there, they were really punishing him, and he was pretty injured, I believe, and it goes back to that Eagles Cowboys game on Thanksgiving where Romo wasn't able to elude the pocket because he was so injured. And I think that's kind of what happened towards the end of this game. He was so beat up that he wasn't able to, be himself and elude the pressure, that he just had to take sacks in the pocket. So really, it was a nice job by the Packers there on defense. They get a lot of pressure on him and knock him around a bit. The end of the game, really, it ended with 2 quarterbacks that were, banged up pretty good. But Rodgers was a guy that prevailed in the end, even though he was hurt. He showed why he's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, yes, he did. All right, so now, do we think that the rule's going to get changed in the offseason? I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that. They've kind of changed the tuck rule a little bit over the years. It didn't happen right away. So I think this is something that's going to get changed eventually, but I don't think it's going to get changed at this moment. Now, I think they got to figure out what they want to do with it. Because, let's face it, Dez Cryant caught that ball, and the rule's just fucking stupid. He caught that ball.
Yeah, well, the problem with these rules anymore is they're so lengthy. I mean, you just had to read off a paragraph rule about a guy catching a pass. I mean, it should be pretty simple. It should be okay if the guy catches a ball, it's a touchdown. If he doesn't catch it, not a touchdown. So he caught the ball, and it should have been a touchdown, or he should have been down at the 1-yard line. So, yeah, I don't know why this is such a tough thing for the NFL to figure out, but they have to change the rule. I don't know if they're, like you said, they're going to do it right away. It might take a season or two, but I think they will make some kind of amendment to it in the offseason.
Yeah, they just got to tweak it. They got to tweak it. I mean, if you guys haven't seen the Calvin Johnson catch, go and YouTube it or something. I mean, the fact that completion was called an incompletion was just mind-boggling. It's preposterous that they didn't rule that a catch. And now it happened in a playoff game. And obviously when it happens in a playoff game, that's when, shit hits the fan. So, whatever. But, all right, so we talked about the rule. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is, I get why they wanted to call it the Ice Bowl too. But the reason why the original Ice Bowl was called the Ice Bowl was because the temperatures are outside were frigid and like 0 degrees outside. This game, it wasn't really that cold. Why the fuck were they calling it the Ice Bowl too? It didn't make any sense to me.
Well, obviously we're the bitter birds for a reason, and we think the same way. Because when I saw them bring that up on the screen, I was like, you joking me right now? The Ice Bowl too? I mean, they're really stretching there. I mean, the temperature, the real temperature, was like 21 degrees. If it was like 0 degrees, okay, maybe we can start talking about that. But for them to stretch that far for the Ice Bowl too, I thought that was a pretty far reach.
Yeah, all right. So I'm glad you agree with me in that sense. I mean, if you look back in the archives and you see like the fans in the stands, they had like the ski masks on where you're covering your whole face, and they would pan to the crowd in this game, and it wasn't even that bad. Like there weren't that many people wearing hats or anything. Like, come on, guys. So what have we come as a society to think that 21 is cold? Jesus Christ. Yeah, sure, your titties might get a little hard, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. That was, I know, it's something stupid that they did. I don't know why they were, acting like the temperatures were so cold. The funny part too is like they had that Ice Ball 2 like logo thing up there, but like throughout the game they never really like mentioned anything about it or like said like that this is the Ice Ball 2. I mean, they mentioned it like earlier in the game, but as the game went on, they didn't really talk about how cold it was or anything like that because obviously it really didn't affect the play.
No, not at all. Not at all. So there you go. That's our recap of the game and our recap of the rule. We'll really briskly talk about the rest of these games that happened this weekend. The game that I had on Saturday night, I covered the Seattle Carolina game. Seattle won 31-17. The classic game of the weekend, the best game of the playoffs so far. Baltimore Ravens and New England Patriots. New England won 35-31. I mean, that game was unbelievable. Patriots come back twice from 2 touchdown deficits. And the big shocker of the weekend, Andrew Luck going into Denver and beating Peyton Manning. Oh, man. We'll talk about this game for about a minute now because, I'll tell you what. I love Peyton Manning. I think he's better than Tom Brady, but when it comes to his legacy, man, he does come up short in the big games. I believe this was like his 9th time that he's exited in his first game in the playoffs, and this one was just so shocking to me. I didn't think the Colts had any chance of winning this game.
Yeah, well, especially the way the game started. I mean, the Broncos, when they jumped out to that, early 7-0 lead when they drove right down the field, you really thought, and Manning was really on that drive when they went right down. So you thought, I was like, oh, geez, I mean, especially that first touchdown pass. I was like, geez, Manning is really on today. He's going to be tough to stop. But as the game went along, it like turned into the total opposite. He just got worse and worse. And then after the game, obviously, reports come out about this quad injury that he's been playing with for the past month. Questions about his future. So yeah, I felt like this game really hurt his legacy again. He's a great regular season quarterback, but as of late, when it comes to the playoffs, he just can't get it done for some reason.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. I mean, Demaryius Thomas was dropping passes too, which didn't help. But a lot of things that were going on. I mean, he was trying to throw these vertical passes, and everything was overthrown. Nothing accurate at all. I mean, a really terrible showing. And the Colts went in there. They won the game, 24-13 victory. And it's the Colts and the Patriots, again, in the AFC Championship game, but without Peyton Manning this time. It's Andrew Luck. Oh, yeah, Andrew Luck. My boy, according to some people. I do like him, though. He's fucking stud.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, I like Luck too. So I was definitely I was pulling for the Colts there to beat the Broncos. Got to cheer for Luck. The one thing that I like about Luck is that when a guy sacks him or makes a nice play, hits him, takes him down to the ground, he always gets up and he congratulates the guy for his hustle. He'll say like good hustle or something along those lines. And I respect that from Luck. He's a a true competitor, and he's a big fan of the game, and he respects guys that hustle and make good plays. So it's one thing I like about Luck. And hey, he can. I mean, geez, talk about proving himself. He can really prove himself if he goes into Foxborough and pulls out a victory.
Yeah, that would be incredible. They lost to him earlier this season. Patriots ran all over him. Jonas Gray, I believe he had 4 touchdowns in that one. That was Gray's coming out party. 50 Shades of Gray. And then you had last season in the playoffs, the Colts got spanked. So this is going to be chance for redemption for Andrew Luck. All right, so talking about the other games, just really quickly. Cam Chancellor. I mean, if you guys don't realize how good this guy is as a safety. Oh my God, he was all over the place on Saturday. And to even further emphasize, how athletic this guy is, when he leapt over the line on the kicks, the field goal twice, that was freaking incredible.
Yeah, I thought that they were throwing a flag on him for bringing a trampoline onto the field, but he didn't have a trampoline. After further inspection, they found out that there was actually no trampoline on the field, and he wasn't putting anything in his cleats either. It was just pure power. So yeah, I mean that guy was jumping out of the stadium. That was impressive. When you first looked at it, you thought that he definitely had to propel off one of his guys or one of the guys on the offensive line, but he didn't. I mean, geez.
Yeah, that was insane. And to talk about the Patriots game really quick, I mean, those two quarterbacks were going back and forth, slugging each other. It was like a boxing match basically. Brady and Flacco going at it. For whatever reason, Flacco is like in the complete opposite realm of Manning. Flacco sucks during the regular season, but if he's in the postseason, he's incredible. He had 4 touchdown passes. I mean, that was a great game on Saturday, the first one.
Yeah, that was it would probably you could argue that was the best one out of all of them. I mean, maybe that going up against the Packers Cowboys game, but yeah, I thought that was a hell of a game. But yeah, I mean. Yeah, those Patriots are tough to take down at home. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, pretty. I would say that the weekend went pretty much as expected.
Yeah, pretty much. Besides the Colts game, that was the one that really surprised me. All right, so we talked the NFL playoffs. I guess we'll quickly talk about the national championship game from last night. I covered this game. This was, awesome. The first championship game that I got to cover as, from the college football spectrum. Ezekiel Elliott, last 3 games, he's gone over 200 yards for the Buckeyes. I mean, the book of Ezekiel, he wrote his chapter into the history books. I mean, he's been fantastic. He's brought the crop top back to college football. But there's another guy that likes to wear the crop top, and he's on the Philadelphia Eagles, and his name is Bo Allen.
Yeah, you're right. Bo Allen loves to show off his big belly. Now Elliott obviously does not have a big belly. He's fit and in shape, but usually you don't see that from the running backs. Usually that's more of a guy like, Bo Allen along the defensive line, one of those types of players that like to show off their big gut.
Yeah, so I actually wrote a column about this, about Elliott's little crop top fashion statement. Go on sportsnetwork.com, or even if you want to Google my name on Google, you can do that too. So yeah, I wrote a column on this, and he doesn't actually, do this for fashion purposes or to show off his six-pack or anything. He does it because he doesn't like guys, grabbing onto him and like tugging on his jersey. So I explained it all in the column, and there you go. So, plug in my name.
Yeah, there you go. Definitely. Uh, he better just hope that there's no gay guys on the field, because if there are some gay guys playing, they might want to try to rub his belly.
Yeah, well, Michael Sam is no longer in college football.
That's true. So he doesn't have to worry about Sam, but there may be some other ones out there that might want to get a little bit of a feel.
Oh man. All right, so that's it for this video. We talked everything that we wanted to talk about. We're going to determine whether or not we want to do another one today, where we want to talk about upcoming free agents for the Eagles this coming offseason. They've got 10 guys that are going to be hitting the market. So, other than that, anything else you would like to add here, Mike?
Yeah, I think we covered that section pretty well.
All right, sounds good to me. So, that being said, that's the end of this video. That was Mike. I'm Adrian. And, yeah, so I think we are going to do another one today. All right, later,
Yeah.
guys. All right, yeah, we got the confirmation. All right, Double Shot Tuesday. There we go. All right, later all.